we go.
Boring Reviews.
All right, welcome back to Boring Reviews. Nick here, and here in Boring Land, I am going to be reviewing a film I just finished called Badhaai Ho, is how I'm saying. I think Badhaai Ho translates into congratulations, some form of congratulation term. This film, we reacted to the trailer for a few months back, and we got a really good response from that, and not sure why I waited so long. After I got Hotstar, this movie is on Hotstar. If you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and check it out and then come back to the review and watch it because I'm going to be full of spoilers here. And I'm ready to talk about this movie. So I had an idea that this movie was very popular because of all the requests we got for the reaction and to watch the movie, and with all of the views and the love we got after we reacted to the trailer. So I started watching this movie actually a few days ago. And I got to tell you, I didn't have a lot of time when I first started watching it. It was late at night. I just wanted to get some of it in. And I wasn't loving it for the first 20 or 25 minutes. Then I went to it the next day. Same situation. Had a busy day. I was finishing reading a book. And so I had about 20, 25 minutes. I put into it again. And it was interesting. There was nothing bad about it technically. I just wasn't super into it. And then I finished it last night. And this movie's first half is strong enough. It's solid. It's a good movie. Like I said, technically it's fine. It's got good acting. We got Ayushmann Khurrana in it. He is fantastic amongst other actors that we have in it. Some I did not recognize, like who played the father. But we have, let's get some of these actors before I finish my point. So the actor that played the father, Gajraj Rao, I had not seen him before, at least I didn't recognize. When I first saw him, I thought, oh, he's the guy who's like the assassin dude in the Kahani film. I don't think it's him. Maybe it is. I don't think it is. But he did a really good job, and I loved his character because he was more passive, and he was easygoing, and he was kind of nice. The kind of character I hope to be when I'm his age. Only time will tell. Who knows? And then we have an actress I'd never seen before playing Renee, the girlfriend, played by Sanya Malhotra. She did a great job. She, there was something different about her than the other female leads I've seen in Indian films. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but she had a lot of chemistry with the Ayushmann Khurrana's character, Nicole. They had a lot of great chemistry, even when they're frustrated with each other or when they're happy with each other. And that last dance number, when they're dancing at what I think is, spoiler alert, their wedding, that was a really cool dance number. You see a lot of personality from Ayushmann that we know he can bring, that we did not see in the first half of this film because his character was mopey and dropey for the first half. But there's two actresses that really stood out for me. One was, well, there's three, because Renee's mother, we've seen before, Sheba Shada. She's from Mirzapur and a few other things I've seen her in. She's always fantastic. She's a very limited role, but she did a great job acting-wise. But the actress that played the mother, here we go, Nina Gupta, she was fantastic. I'm not sure if she is the same actress that was in Bahubali. It looked like her, but I'm not exactly sure. But she was very, very good. And in this role, asked a lot of her emotionally. She was able to bring in those emotions. She was able to bring in the moments where she was sulking, but she was also trying to keep her pride. She was able to really bring in the acting skills. And so she did a great job. But the star of this film, in my opinion, besides Ayushmann Khurrana, is by far the grandmother, who was played by Sharika Sikri. I'm assuming that she has been in movies for a long time just because she's an elder actress. But she was awesome. She brought in a lot of the humor. For me, she was by far my favorite part of the first half of the film because I was still kind of feeling it out. I wasn't loving it. I was wondering, oh no, this is not going to be a very good review because I'm not super into the story and super into what our main character, Nicole, is going through. But the second half of this movie is a completely different movie, not in tone, or actually, yes, in tone, but not in story. It continues the same story, but the second half of this film is an amazing second half of any film that I've seen. And in my opinion, this film basically has two acts, not really three acts. There are three-act structure in it, but it basically has two acts, and the second half of the film is some of the best film that I've seen from Indian cinema. It brought in the emotions. It brought in the high stakes for the characters. It brought in the character arcs for a lot of the characters. It gave us some small pieces, like with the brother's relationship and the bully that's picking on the little brother and how Nicole comes and helps him out. That was really cool. It sewed up a little bit of the smaller stories with Nicole's friends who were kind of joking around with them about his mom getting pregnant. But the second half of this movie is awesome. I'll get to that later. But the grandma, she's awesome all throughout. She was crazy. She was very judgmental and very superior, but she made me laugh every time she acted that way. And I usually don't gravitate to those type of characters, but in the second half, when she gives a speech to her daughter and daughter-in-laws, that was awesome. And it was great that the writer of this film chose for that moment for her to impose some wisdom on those ladies that are mature age themselves. That was really cool. It really showed up the character, and it made everything work all together. So the acting, fantastic. The grandma, in my opinion, the star of this movie. But this movie, when it ended, I was honestly in tears a few times, and I was laughing, cracking up a few times, and I can't say that about every movie. I'm the kind of guy where I do cry in movies sometimes. I do get emotional. I have no problem admitting to that, and I feel like for me that means I'm really connecting to it because I'm feeling it. Maybe if I'm not actually crying, but I'm feeling, those emotions inside. This one, there was actually some tears coming. I really completely bought hook, line, and sinker the entire story and the arc of these characters. And that's why the first half does not bother me overall with my grade when I get to that, because you have to have build-up to have the payoff. One of my biggest complaints about Dunkirk, which is a very popular film, technically one of the biggest masterpieces you'll see out there as far as technically created film, the story, the stakes of the characters did not pay off for me. I was not cheering as much as I wanted to inside and out at the end of that film. This movie had that payoff because of how they built it up at the beginning. So this movie, if you have not seen it and you don't really care to watch it or you can't remember, it's all about how these elder parents, in their 50s at least I would say, or late 40s, they have a night of romance. They're married. They're allowed to do that kind of stuff, obviously. They get pregnant. The mom gets pregnant. Her son is in his 20s. Her other son, her youngest, is in his teens going to school. They get pregnant, and it's a huge surprise. And if that happened here in the States, it would be a big deal. It would be big news. It's like, man, did you hear so-and-so's mom's pregnant again? She's in her 50s. That would be a big deal, but it wouldn't be as big of a deal as they made it into this movie in the area of India they are in, or maybe in all of India, it would be that big of a deal. I mean, it was looked down upon that this married couple in their 50s were still having relations, if you know what I mean, at their age, which, in my opinion, come on. And the girlfriend makes a really good point when she's talking to Nicole about later on, like, what do you think you're going to be doing in your 40s and 50s? But not to get too much into that part of the movie, it was a big deal. And people were laughing at them. People were shunning them in a certain way. People were embarrassed to be around them. Like, you are making a fool out of yourself. That's just something you don't do. And if you do it, you don't let anyone know that you're doing it as an older couple. And it really bothered Ayushmann Khurrana's character a whole lot. He was very embarrassed, and he was very much worried about how it would reflect on him. He did not think about his mom or his dad and the situation they were in, or that they have to raise a baby from scratch all over again when their youngest is just a few years away from being an adult himself. He was just very internal, and he was moping around, and he turned into that same character that I saw in Dumlaga Kehasha, where Ayushmann Khurrana, who I think is a top-class actor, very charismatic in his films, the few that I've seen him in, and in the trailers that I've seen him in for the other ones that have come out recently, I saw him in Dumlaga Kehasha, and I said, man, this is just a character I can't get behind. I don't like his portrayal in that movie. And this movie started off that way, and I'm like, maybe it's just the actor. I still think a lot about him, but maybe it's just the actor. But he definitely turns it around in the second half, and he shows us that other side of him. And I completely understood where he was coming from. I don't think I completely agreed. I think I would have been more supportive, but this is a movie, and we've got to have characters that go through different situations, and so that made perfect sense at the end, and it came full circle. And I loved his character at the end. It was great to see that progression, and great to see how much he was by his mother's side and how he apologized to her and his father, which as a grown-up son, that's sometimes hard to do with your pride, to apologize to your father. I don't know why, but it is. And so it was nice to see him do that. And when he did it, he showed a little bit of restraint. It wasn't like, oh, Daddy, I love you so much. I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. He was doing it in a very prideful way, but he still extended that olive branch. And the dad, being the cool guy he was just like, yeah, no problem. The story is simple. She's getting pregnant. They have they said the sister's wedding, but I think it was his cousin's wedding that they had to go to. And Nicole didn't want to go. He said, I got work to worry about. The little brother didn't want to go. They were too embarrassed to be seen with their pregnant mother. And so they didn't go. And this was a huge turning point because Nicole realized through a situation with his girlfriend and her mom where she was kind of talking trash, and he overheard it, and he got mad at her when he was a little drunk about the whole thing. He realized how much of an idiot he was being. And so that's what's great about this movie is you don't have any wasted time. You don't have any wasted scenes. All the scenes are connected to each other in some way, and they're going to build upon each other. There's no waste. And that's one of the biggest problems with movies, and I'm sure I would make the mistake if I was a filmmaker, where you have scenes that you think are really cool, like in an action movie, or we've got to have this. But I'm a very much story person, character-driven person, and in this movie, everything was interconnected to drive the story of those characters. You can tell how I'm excited about this movie because I'm talking so fast about it. So, the thing that I loved the most was, again, how it built up to that end. That grandma character, Nicole's character, even the little brother, he came around, but especially the mother as well. She and the grandma's relationship was very complex, but it was a beautiful thing, and they had that understanding at the end. It's too bad the grandmother couldn't say those things to her earlier so that she could kind of understand where she was coming from. But at the same time, the grandmother is not a sugarcoating type person. She's going to tell you how it is, no problem. A random thing, but I absolutely cracked up at the very end. Before that, so the father, he wanted to start growing a mustache. I guess it made him think like he was getting young. He's having a baby. Let me look a little younger. I don't know. Midlife crisis. I'm not sure. So he shaves, leaves the mustache, and it's just a little bit of stubble, 5 o'clock shadow, and he's like really massaging it like our man from Kumbalagi Nights. But he's just really excited about it. His wife clowns him like, what, you think you're going to be cool because you have a mustache? Get rid of that nasty thing right now. And so he shaves it off. That was hilarious. And then at the end, there was some really cleverness with the jokes and the writing where Nicole is going to the grandmother and giving her a hug, and he's laying on her lap, which I thought was really nice. And he's joking around with her, and he's like, you know what? You're a great person just like my dad, and you guys look a lot alike besides the mustache. And then she says, but your dad doesn't have a mustache. And he messes around with her. He's like, I'm not talking about dad. I'm talking about your whiskers. And that was a messed up thing to say to your grandma, but she always lets them have it. And so they have that understanding, that relationship. She laughs about it, kind of hits him a few times. I thought that was a very endearing, great moment. I love the part where the mom goes into labor and the whole family gets behind her, and the son doesn't skip a beat. Let's get you to the hospital. The girlfriend shows up. I hated the part where the girlfriend and him were at odds with each other. You have to have that in the story. I didn't want to see them break up because I thought they had great chemistry. I thought it had a nice little story there. And then when she comes to him, when her mom says, he's a nice guy, he came to me and he apologized, which is all she wanted, which was great because for her as a character, she's not going to give in to her boyfriend. She respects her mother so much that, no, I'm not going to be with you if you're going to treat my mother that way. Even though he was, in my opinion, defending himself, he kind of went a little overboard by attacking her, but he didn't physically attack her, just with his words. But then when she was able to meet him in the hospital and she slides her hand in there and the look on his face, their chemistry was just awesome. So that was a great moment. This movie overall is a great film. And the first half, if you've seen it, maybe you agree with me, it's a little slower. It takes a lot of time to build up, but it definitely pays off in the second half, and everything was just clicking emotionally for me, and in joyous ways as well. I was just so excited about it. Let me know if you agree with my thoughts on this film. Let me know in the comment section below. I don't really have much more to say about this movie besides I loved it. My grade for this film, my grade for Badhaai Ho is going to be easily a solid A. I love different moments. I felt like this was almost like a television series where I had episodes to connect with these characters so that when they would tell their jokes, when they would have their moments of silliness but not campiness, that it paid off. And we got that in a movie of 2 hours and 10 minutes, 2 hours, 20 minutes, whatever it was. That was done very nicely. The writer of this film is there's a few writers actually, which usually when you have that is not a good thing. It does not bode well for the film. Sometimes they have rewrites and they mess it up. But we have 3 credited writers. We have Shana Tanu Shrivastava, we have Akshat Gildeel, and we have Jyoti Kapoor. They wove a great story. And then our director, Amit Sharma, did a great job of putting all those set pieces in place. Very minimal scenes, very minimal locations, but it worked out just fine. And last thing, just for fun, the whole character, I forget his name, Laula or something like that, the nephew of our character, the father, his nephew, who his brother-in-law or cousin, whoever that guy was, wanted him to talk to because he was married, but he couldn't have any babies, and he wasn't pulling his weight, so to speak, as a man. He's like, will you please talk to him since you just had a baby, you just got your wife pregnant, you're there, give him some advice. And he's like, I don't want to give him advice. So he started thinking about it, told his wife about it. He sees the nephew dancing, and it's very obvious that at least the mannerisms and everything else, the way this guy is acting, is he's completely gay. And the dad notices it, and then the mom walks up behind him. She's like, yeah, go give him some advice now. And the cousin, either whether he wants to admit it or not, he's got to know. That was just a funny part. But this movie was great. Loved watching it. Thanks for requesting it, even though it took me several months to get to it. That's why I'm loving Hotstar. I've already seen so many things off. It's definitely paid its worth in the yearly subscription already. Let me know what you think. If you're new to Boring Reviews and you haven't done so, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and like this video. Let me know what else you want me to review. I think Super 30 might be coming pretty soon. And don't forget to check out other videos. Until next time, adios.